Hello, it's Brian O. Brian's Journey, conversations about cancer. It's those conversations that I never wanted to have about a journey, never wanted to be on. But one thing, one thing I found on this journey is I've been able to connect with others across the world. In fact, because here it's Tuesday night, I'm in New Jersey in the U.S., and my brother Innes over here is in Sydney, Australia, where it's what is it, 10:15 a.m. right now.
That's right, 10:15 a.m.
And it's amazing technology to me that we could be sitting here having this conversation because actually you're getting your what are you getting done right now? And tell us what's going on.
So I'm having, there you go, that's what I'm getting done. So I'm having, like you, Brian, I'm diagnosed with what we call mantle cell lymphoma. And I'm coming to the end of, the induction phase, right? What they call the induction phase, which for me is a particular protocol called Nordic, the Nordic protocol. Mantle cell has a pretty poor prognosis, classically, with a median survival rate of sort of 6 to 7 years. And this is what my hematologist has told me. I'm under the care of the director of stem cell transplants here in Sydney. But Nordic looks to extend remission to, 10, 12 plus years and up to 20 years in really great instances. So Nordic involves two different types of chemo. One of them is called R-CHOP, which is quite common, I think, for various different lymphomas and other cancers. And the other one is called R-HIDAC. So what I'm getting today is the last, and it's alternating. So it's R-CHOP, R-HIDAC, R-CHOP, R-HIDAC. And I've been having that for the last 15 weeks. So this is day 106, I think, day 106 for me of treatment. And I've just been hooked up to a drug called rituximab, which is, my understanding of that is that's an immunotherapy drug. It's not chemotherapy per se, right? And it's the thanks, Magda. That's one of the nurses just gave me a bottle of water. And it's part of, I think, bringing your immune system down so that the chemotherapy can do its job, right? So once I've had the rituximab, which will infuse over an hour. That's an hour, and then they'll turn it up. I think it's probably 3 hours. I get that over. Then I get a drug called cytarabine, and I have a line in my chest here. Hold up. I'd love a cup of tea, please. Just milk. Thank you. I have a line here in my chest. I won't expose it because, it's not very pretty. Not the line, my chest.
We don't want to get everybody too excited seeing your chest.
Yeah, well, I don't want to. There might be people. I don't want to get people's pulses going up, right? And the cytarabine. The reason that's in my chest. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, right? And I don't know what you use. What did you use, Brian? Did you have a PICC line or did you have a port?
I had neither. I am grateful. I had some good veins until I met the treatments, But my veins are coming back. I'm grateful. I still have some veins here,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm similar. Before we keep going, let me just go ahead and say I know you have a blog, and I've read your blog, and it's right up here. It says haggisdownunder.com because you're in Australia, but you're from Scotland, and I know about haggis. Right. I can't say I've ever eaten any, and I don't ever want to. But now I say definitely not for the faint-hearted. But how was the best way to describe it? Not kids shouldn't be reading this thing, right? You say no.
Yeah, look, there's a bit of language in there, right? We in Scotland we typically use swearing as a way of expression, and I decided because, and hopefully we'll get to this, but I was pretty angry when I was diagnosed, right? And Brian, and I think when we were chatting before we started this, I think you were the same. So I decided that I have family in the other parts of the world, and I wanted to use my blog as a way of expressing the mental journey that I was on, because I think the mental journey is something that people need probably a lot of help with, right?
Yes.
So I decided not to moderate my language on my blog. So I'm not a professional writer, and you can see that when you read it. It's just a way for me to express how I was feeling at the start of the journey, right? And so I kept it going because I don't, nobody's really complained about the language in it. I mean, it's not, it's not triple X or anything like that, but certainly you wouldn't want your kids reading it, right?
But it's you, brother. It's you expressing yourself.
It's me.
Like I'm not a professional YouTuber, as you can see, as I fade in and out, but I'm learning. It takes practice. Practice equals progress, and I just keep going. But see, speaking of the journey, if you look right here and you scan this barcode, the UR barcode, because I'm learning about technology besides learning about cancer, you can follow me on my journey right there, including subscribing to my YouTube channel where you can see more videos. And so I hope you will check out. And this is blog right here, haggishdownunder.com. Definitely not for the faint-hearted, but real and raw. That's what you said, right, my brother?
That's right. Real and raw.
Sometimes I get the chemo brain and I can't remember stuff, but I do listen. I do pay attention, right? So
there's so many things we've unpacked already, right? Chemo brain, the mental journey, the anger. There's so many things to talk about. We could talk about this for hours, Brian.
Yeah. So let's talk about
what I was saying about what I was saying about the line. Sorry. What I was saying about the line of the cytarabine is I have this line which goes into my chest up here, and then it actually finishes up near my heart. And the reason for that is the cytarabine is so toxic to your veins that they can't put it into your arms. It has to go into the fastest flowing blood in your body so that it gets dispersed throughout your body quickly because it burns the inside of your arteries. So that's why cytarabine. And in other parts of the world, and here in Australia, some people come into the hospital for cytarabine and stay for 3 days, right? Because you get 4 3-hour transfusions with 6 hours in between. I take a pump home. This afternoon, they'll connect me to a pump, and I take it home. And tonight, it'll start at 6 o'clock for 3 hours, and then it'll stop during the night. Then it'll start tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for 3 hours, come back tomorrow, have the pump changed over, and then that happens again for 24 hours. And then on Friday, I'm disconnected for the cycle. So that's a cytarabine.
But it's working. Have you gotten CAT scans since you started? Have you seen the progress?
Yeah. So part of the Nordic protocol is after cycle 4. So that's now it's now 3 weeks ago now. 3 weeks ago on Monday, just Monday gone, I had what they call the cycle 4 restaging PET scan. Progression. What is it? I can't even remember what PET stands for. And that is to see if I am responding to the treatment, right? And response is defined as 50% or better reduction in disease.
Yeah.
And what happens as a result? It's like a decision, right? If I'm responding, they stay on the treatment course that I'm on. If I'm not, they perhaps change to a different treatment. And the update that I got from that scan is that it couldn't be going better. My response is complete.
That's beautiful.
And it's as good an outcome from a scan perspective as they want to see at this stage in the journey.
Yeah.
So it's magic. It's a real relief, right? It's
it makes you physically and mentally better as well too, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
It was like a celebration, And it was funny. So I got that news from one of the hematology registrars who works for the consultant that I'm under the care of. And you could hear the glee in her voice, right? Because here's another thing. These guys deal in some pretty shitty news, right? These hematologists and oncologists, they give people some pretty poor news on a daily basis, right?
Oh yeah.
You know, think back to Brian when you were diagnosed. Think back to when I was diagnosed. You know, when I was diagnosed, I was told to come in at the end of the day because it was going to be a long appointment, right? And that was the first sign that things were not going well, right? Um, so they get to give a lot of bad news, but they get to give good news. And her voice was she was ecstatic when she told me.
Oh yeah.
On the phone. You know, it was great. And she even said to me, she said, and before you ask, don't ask to stop your treatment. We've got to complete the treatment. You know, it's like when you get a course of antibiotics, you've got to finish them, right? So just because I had a complete response to the treatment doesn't mean the treatment stops. I've got to continue with the treatment.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, Brian, did you have a stem cell transplant?
I did not. I am in the middle. I will tell you about me.
Yeah.
The reason I started doing this is because I kept talking about me. I figured people want to hear about other people instead of me every week. But you know what? I'll tell you this. There, in a nutshell, I want to talk more about 2020. Okay, I got through 2020, got through the end of it, and I thought, wow, I'm doing great. I didn't get sick at all, you know, after everything that went on in the world in 2020. So I said, here I am, you know, I'm 50 now. I think you're about what, 54 or something?
54.
54. Okay, so and now here I was 49 years old, and no, I'm sorry, 48. I was 48. January 2021. Okay, I got through, and I got through the fact there I was like, I got through 2020. I'm like, well, I'm feeling good. I didn't get sick. A lot of people I knew were getting sick, getting this, getting that, and I said, let me start the year off right. Let me start off 2021 right. I want to go get a physical at my primary. I want to get my blood work done. I wanted to see what my A1C is because I have a history of diabetes in my family, the males in my family. So I said, let me go. Okay, so you know, I went to go and get my A1C checked. I went to go see. My A1C was great. You know, I wouldn't say great, but it was good. And other things were good. But all of a sudden, my white blood cell count was high. I had no other symptoms. I had no symptoms whatsoever. I did not feel sick. I wasn't this and that. And all of a sudden, basically, in a nutshell, that was January of 2021. May of 2021, I was told I had mantle cell lymphoma. And I was just like, it made me think to myself, why did I even go get myself checked? Because I looked up like you did. I looked up those things and I saw men in their 60s. And I'm like, hey, I'm only 49 at this point. I turned 49. I said, 6 or 7 years. I said, why couldn't I should have waited 11 years and then got it checked out? That was my head was telling me this, bro. I don't know about yourself, but that just kind of led the depression was there. Where the depression really started hitting was because I had a couple of different oncologists. I had 3 different oncologists I went to see. They got their treatment plans. In the U.S., the insurance company has to approve everything. I don't know. I don't think that's that way in Australia. I shouldn't know. Okay. So the insurance company said, we're not approving this. We're not approving this. We want mantle cell lymphoma is a basic chemotherapy. That's the first line treatment. And I had 3 different doctors say, no, it would not work for him. This would be better. As you were talking about the targeted treatment, right? That's what I heard you were talking about, the rituximab. For me, it's very similar. So I'm on the targeted treatment right now. But the thing is, I had 3 different oncologists I went to see 3 different ones, had the bone marrow biopsies, all that fun stuff, which I'm sure you might have had, right? But my thing is, that was last year. I'll cut this short here because I know people want to hear you. They want to hear your accent, you know. But for me, February 3rd of this year, I was told I was in my doctor's office in Memorial Sloan Kettering, North Jersey, and Dr. Anita Kumar. She said to me, she said, Brian, you've been accepted on this clinical trial. It's called a Bovin study. It lasts for 2 years, but the thing is, I started crying. I started crying again, but this was a healthy cry because I put my head down and 85% of that depression left my body because I had the opportunity to heal. And I'm healing. I am healing. August 18th, I have one more IV hookup. That's it. myself. I go back August 18th, and then I will just continue with all my chemo cocktail, like we talked about, all the meds.
Mm, mm.
My CT, my CAT scans are getting better. My test scores. I got a CAT scan back a couple weeks ago. It said a lot of improvement. I and here's the kicker, right? So now I'm only taking 10 pills a day instead of 11. That's even better.
A 9% reduction.
And yes, on the pills, but but I am getting the note that they are telling me that my lymph nodes are shrinking, my spleen is shrinking. Did you have what? Tell about what happened? How did you get diagnosed? What happened with you? If you want to tell me.
So it's funny, Brian, right? We haven't spoken a great deal before this, but exactly like you, in 2021, in late 2020, I was told that I was pre-diabetic, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big guy. I'm trying to keep my bigness out of the camera. I'm a big guy with a bit of a history in the family. The Scottish diet of when I was brought up, it was not great, right? Tons and tons of carbohydrates, right? And I don't want to take this journey, this conversation down the wrong thing, but I think it's relevant to what you just said. So I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, and I didn't want to go on to the classic first-line treatment for that, which is metformin. So I went away and did some research, right? I found a different way of eating and what to eat. And in 8 months, I reduced my A1C from 6.8 to 4.8.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I lost 40 pounds and reduced it from 6.8 to 4.8. Non-diabetic. Picked up a new job at the end of 2021. Had some discomfort in the back of my head. Went and got an ultrasound, inconclusive. In January of this year, I noticed a lump in my leg, high in your thigh, in your groin area.
Yeah.
Probably about the size of your palm.
Wow.
Quite deep, but soft, mobile, no pain, not whatsoever.
Right.
Sat on it for 8 weeks, maybe. Went to the doctor took one look, and he started all these tests. So all the things that you just talked about: bone marrow biopsy, CAT scans, MRI scans, blood tests coming out your yin yang, all sorts of things. And then it resulted in April the 12th of this year, a diagnosis of mantle cell lymphoma. And like you, my first reaction was, because that lump in my leg was painless. So I'm like, hold on a minute, if I didn't go and see you, I would still be doing everything as I was doing. I wasn't having any other symptoms. But it brought it home to me when I asked my hematologist, what if I don't treat this? He said, why do you ask? And I said, well, because I don't feel ill. I don't feel ill. What happens if I don't treat this? He said, you won't see Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He said,
Scary.
He said, I'd give you a 20% chance of seeing Christmas and a 0% chance of seeing your next birthday, which is in February.
Mine is February as well.
He said, you'll get ill so quickly and progress so catastrophically that you just won't believe that it's happening. So I started treatment the next day. So unlike what you said, there's no insurance companies involved. I'm being treated under the public system. It doesn't cost me a penny.
Yeah.
I'm being seen. So let's not get into the politics of it, but I'm being seen by a private hematologist, but as a public patient. So I don't pay for him.
Yeah.
He gets paid by the government, and all of my treatment is paid for by the government as well.
I'll tell you this. No, for one thing, my birthday is in February as well, the 25th. I don't know what it is, but
23.
oh wow,
23.
we're right there, right there. Yeah, yeah. But now I'm grateful. I was able to find a Facebook group. I reached out on Facebook, and I was like,
Mm,
I didn't know much about it, and I met others. I met others on this journey, and all over the country, all over the world, like yourself as well, and with different
mm.
types of symptoms. Because, as they say, this mantle cell lymphoma strikes people differently. That's what I. There's no
That's right.
routine.
That's right.
Some my white blood cell count. I don't know. Was yours ever affected? Your white blood cell count?
So they didn't, for some reason, and it'd be interesting to understand. We don't talk about that here in Australia. You know, nobody said to me my white blood cells were up. As a result of the lump in my thigh, I just went through test after test after test, and they don't talk about each test. It all culminates in this diagnosis at the end. So, sure, at that point, my white blood cell count was up. But they test for, I don't know if it's the same in the US, Brian, but the first test you get here is for HIV because HIV promotes a response in your lymphatic system that's all over your body.
Yeah.
And if you've got lymphoproliferative symptoms, which is what I presented with, so my lymph nodes in the back of my head were up, my neck, my collarbones, my abdomen, my groin, everything was swollen. Maybe because I'm a big guy, you don't notice it so much, right? And maybe that's part of the problem. Um, I intend to continue my weight loss journey after this. They don't talk about white blood, but it would have been up, right? But they tested for HIV. They then test for Epstein-Barr virus. So each test is ruling things out
Yes.
to narrow it down.
I had this test as well.
Yeah. So as you say, a bone marrow biopsy, man, that's the worst thing that I've ever been through.
Well, the second one wasn't so bad because I knew what was coming from the first time. You know what?
Oh,
I will tell you this: the first time I had the bone marrow biopsy was at the second oncologist I went to see, and I will tell you this: my nephew, he was there with me. He drove there. He drove up there with me, and the doctor said to him, "He said, oh, um, would you like to leave the room for a little bit? We'll call for you when it's over." He's like, "Oh, do I need to go?" He's like, "No, you can stay." So my nephew sat across from me. Like, he's looking at me like I'm looking at you, and I didn't see this needle or nothing like that. I just the nurse practitioner. She said to me, she said, "You're going to feel a little bit of pressure." They put a a low whatever it was anesthetic. Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was. He said, she said, "You're going to feel a little bit of pressure." I said, "Okay." And my nephew's face went like this. He was like, and I was like, "Oh my God."
It's funny how you said it affects everybody differently. Mantle cell. It seems that everybody's response to a bone marrow biopsy is different as well. Man, see if I ever have a bone marrow biopsy again, I want to be knocked out. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. I was screaming.
Oh boy.
And I had this green whistle. Do they have the green whistles in the US?
No,
I think it's Penthrox or something.
I think they put a muzzle on me.
Inhale.
No.
I think they wanted to put a gag on me.
I do remember the nurse practitioner. I remember she grabbed my arm. She grabbed my hand in like a calming way, and that I felt okay with that. The second, then when I had to get to my next oncologist, the fourth one where I'm at now, they wanted to do everything again because it was also another year. It was 2022, and they wanted to see where everything was at. All I know is I have another one. I'm going to have another one, but it won't be till next year. I know that. So, but you know what? When I have that test done, when I have that third one done, they're going to tell you how much I've improved. They're going to talk about how cancer free I'm going to be because I'm getting cancer free. You and I, we're winning today, and I know.
Sure.
I know you were talking about 10 years And let me ask you this now: have you done research about this illness in the past, as opposed to now? A lot of information being outdated. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you're like me, especially
Yeah.
like
So my view is whatever you read on the internet about this disease is out of date.
yeah,
Anything that you read on the internet is out of date. And one of my fears was, Brian, that because of how rare this is, my initial assumption is there won't be a great deal of research into it, right? Because at the end of the day, medicine's a business, right? If you've not got a great deal of customers for your medicine, then it's maybe not a great business proposition. So I thought, if there's only a few people got mantle cell, there's not going to be a great deal of research. But that's not the case, right?
no, no,
There's tons of research. And what my hematologist has said to me is, the strategy for me, and I'm assuming it's the same for you, Brian, is to get you into remission and hold you in remission. And let's say in the next 5 years, who knows what happens, right?
exactly.
In terms of research and in terms of cures.
All the
If you speak to the nurses here, there are people in here today having therapy, not necessarily for mantle cell. So I'm assuming Memorial Sloan is the same as here. This is a multidisciplinary cancer center. There's 32 chairs here, and everybody's got different stuff, right?
different types.
There are people here who are getting therapy where their drugs were only approved last year.
Yeah, yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's the development,
incredible.
The research and development is going. It's wonderful.
It's fantastic.
Man, Memorial Sloan Kettering is based at their main headquarters is New York City in Manhattan, right. But they have in North Jersey. That's where I go in North Jersey. I live closer to Philadelphia. I don't know if you've come to the States before.
I have, but I'm an ice hockey fan, right? So I understand that northeast corner pretty well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I grew up a Philadelphia Flyers fan.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm a Penguins fan.
Mario Lemieux. He's a lymphoma survivor as well.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
He has a foundation, the Mario Lemieux Foundation, actually. So it's good to look that up. Right. Yeah, he took time off.
Yeah, look that up.
Yes, not mantle cell. I don't know exactly the type of lymphoma he had. You talked about all the different types of cancers. I've been on social media. I've been on Facebook for years, and it's like I would see people posting about, I got diagnosed with cancer, and I would feel bad. I truly would. And I said, I'm going to pray for you, and I did. But I never knew if I knew you before we met each other on the cancer journey, and you put on Facebook, I got diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to pray for you. And I would. But all of a sudden, once I heard the oncologist say to me, Brian, you have a type of blood cancer, all of a sudden it's like it's hitting home right here. And it's like, we have a different.
So I was like you. I was like you, but slightly different. See, when I got told I had cancer, I was like, what? That's what other people get. I don't get cancer. Other people get it. And older people get it. And that's what happens to other people. Right? And that's not, I'm not trivializing what other people's diagnosis is. But it's like, for me, it was like, fuck, you got cancer. Couldn't believe it. I was 54, pretty healthy. I would walk 7 to 8 kilometers a day. What's that? 5 miles a day, 6 days a week. I was losing weight. I was getting on top of my diabetes. And then boom.
Just like that. Yeah. So I felt like my world. Sorry, go ahead.
And all I was going to say is I think the reason we got onto that is, we were talking about ice hockey and the Flyers and Pens, Mario Lemieux, and lymphoma. I think there are 70 different types of lymphoma.
But mantle cell lymphoma takes up, I think, 5% of all non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I think that's the actual.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. See, you and I, we've done our research. I never wanted to do this research. I never wanted to be on a journey like this. I wanted to live my life and think I was doing good. And that's what I said. I had no symptoms. And and then I found out not just men are 60, but it said the median age is 68 for this illness. That's what I was told. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
yeah,
just the
yeah.
US, huh?
No, that's worldwide. So we're too young for this shit.
Exactly, exactly. That's what I thought. I said, "Oh my God, why am I doing this now? Why is this?" But you know what? I'll tell you what. That Facebook group we met in. I've come across women who got diagnosed with this in their late 30s.
Mm,
You know, it said
mm.
men in their 60s, and all of a sudden it's like, wow. I mean, for you, I know you told me you had a full head of hair. Well, maybe not so full, but you had a decent head before this, right?
I had a full head of hair before this. You can
Oh,
see
you
my
did.
picture on my blog. I had a full beard, and now I'm starting to get a little bit of stubble, and I've got a
Yeah.
little bit of fuzz on my head, which hopefully will come back. But in the grand scheme of things, it's look, I completely get it. For people
Yeah.
who lose their hair, I get it that it can be a trauma, right? And especially for ladies, it must be a trauma, right? But for me, I was
Yeah.
like,
You're right about
hey,
that.
it's part of the deal, right? I'm going to lose my hair. It's part of moving forward. It's part of moving in the right direction. So yeah, I've got pictures of me with a red mohawk. I dyed it bright red,
Oh yeah.
you know,
You know
and it
what?
was just having a bit of fun.
I've been losing my hair since I was in my 20s. So I finally decided to shave it probably, I'll say 15 years ago, just to shave it. So it's like, but I know what you're saying, not to be a gender based, but I see women that have like, it's got to be like dramatic. I've not
Yeah, yeah,
traumatic,
yeah.
traumatic, I'm saying, and I've connected with people on social media of all cancers. Yes, that Facebook group definitely. But when I go on Instagram, it's like I've connected with all the different types of breast cancers, all the different types, and also, and I see them at the treatment center, and I start hearing these things, and I say to myself, Brian, I'm 50 years old. You get a kid it turns 18 and gets diagnosed with stuff, and it's like everything just seems to go in that perspective. And things that I'm learning now.
Mm.
Speaking of your blog, let's go ahead and just want to say that right here. I have it here, haggishdownunder.com. Definitely not for the faint-hearted. It's what do you say? It's real, raw, and a little sweary, right?
It's real raw and very sweary.
Very sweary. And I have a UR code here. If you want to follow my journey, including my YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, all these different things I'm learning. Instagram, right there. You just click there with the UR code, and I'm learning. And I hope I'll catch up with you on there because I'm going to be doing one of these a week. We're going to be talking with different people. Last week, the first week I did, so this is my second one I'm doing. And I think I'm getting better already. Just like our treatments, I'm getting better. We get better every time, right? Now, last week I was talking with a young lady. I had a conversation with her named Kristen. She had a form of lymphoma as well. She lost her head. She's 35 years old. I have a 3-year-old son, and this and that. And she thought, not the mantle cell, but different. And it's just like, wow, I'm just grateful to my higher power, that put me on this journey with a lot of different folks that I never wanted to be on. But it makes it easier to get through it when we're together and not alone. And you know what I always say, though? This is what I say. This is my little catchphrase. I like to say, Brian wins. Brian and Innes wins today. Cancer loses today, right? That's how I got to look at it. We're talking about with, okay, so what you're talking about with your art shop and what the oncologists want to say. Okay, so God willing, my my plan I'm on, my treatment plan, I will be cancer free for the rest of my life. That would be beautiful. You know what? But say 10 years from now, like you said, if I were to slip, God forbid, I slip back in there, which I don't plan on it because I'm beating this thing a day at a time. We are beating this thing a day at a time. But when it comes to reality, imagine, like I said, imagine all the developments that will be done in that time. That's what you got to look at. So that's what I'm looking at. But I take it a day at a time. I'm getting better. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better up here because here was where I took the mental beating. God, I was. I don't know how dark you got to, but I know in my mind where I was.
Very dark. So something that you said there, I just want to clarify that I'm sure it is traumatic for some blokes to lose their hair, right? But my point was that some blokes and a lot of blokes lose their hair as a matter of course, right? So, Brian, you've been saying that you were losing your hair for a few years now. For ladies, I think that it's probably, I can't say because I'm not a lady, it's probably more likely to be traumatic for a lady, right? But the mental journey is as you say, it's it's fucking hellish. It is, right? You're going along, you're traveling normally. For me, work was going great. I had a new job. I just bought a new apartment, by the way, which I move into in 3 weeks' time. So I'm doing a whole house move during this as well, which adds some complexities. I just bought a new apartment. I just sold an apartment. The year was going great. Getting on really well with my kids. My kids live with their mum. I'm repartnered, and they come and see me, on the weekends. And then suddenly, boom, you get this bloody diagnosis. That you won't see Christmas if you don't treat it. Even if you do treat it, you might it'd be good if you'll probably see 60. Even right now in this, you're probably not going to see 70. And to start talking in blocks of 5 to 10 years, I felt as if I'd been conned. I felt as if life had pulled a fast one on me. Right?
Yeah.
I've invested 35 years so far in my career, which involves saving up every year for your retirement. Right?
And you want to enjoy that retirement. Yeah.
And somebody's now taking that away from me. Right? I'm like, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? Right? I don't know if you did that, Brian. Right? I don't know, but you're like, where did I go wrong?
I spent many countless nights sitting there till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, thinking to myself, what did I do? What did I, is it something I ate? Was it, did I drink? Was it this and that? Was it, what could have caused this, And I realized it's genes, it's genetic. I come to the realization I'm not 100% with it all the time, but I realize there's nothing I honestly did. I'm 99% sure there's nothing I honestly did to cause this to happen. It's the way my body worked. And you know what? I'm not looking at those blocks like that. I refuse to. I thought I was dying last year, especially when my numbers were going up and up because I wasn't getting treated. I wasn't able to get treated. That's what I thought. So I look at every day as a win. Small victories every day.
But I think it's worth saying because we're on this topic. So my hematologist said to me, we don't know what causes lymphoma, right? Nobody knows what causes it. There's all sorts of studies that say there's some associations with things, chemicals, whatever, but nobody knows. In fact, my hematologist said to me, as medical science improves life expectancy, more and more people will get lymphoma. Right? It's an age thing, and although it's not exclusive to age, it's typically, as you were saying, typical diagnosis 60, men in their 60s, all that kind of stuff. But I spent all this time punishing myself, saying to me, what did I do wrong? Yes. I'm an ex-smoker. I stopped smoking 15 years ago, 16 years ago when my first son was born. But I'm an ex-smoker, probably drink more than medical guidelines would tell you, I like a glass of wine, I like a whiskey, all that kind of stuff. We talked about diabetes, and my opinion is that diabetes is a dietary thing. Diet's not been great. So you say, what did I do wrong? Like, which combination of all that shit did I do wrong? And my hematologist said, there's no point in spending time stressing about that.
Exactly.
um,
Don't add to the stress.
because
Accept it that
because
we
you can't.
have.
And that brings us on to, he said, there are no studies, in his view, that say that if you have a positive attitude, it gives you a better chance of remission. But there are lots of evidence that says that if you allow these types of diseases to take over, then they will. So if
Yeah.
you sit back and just be a passenger, then it's a poor way to treat this. And so that's why, like you, Brian, every day is a day of winning for me.
Yeah.
And I choose to approach this with a smile. Right, that's my thing. A smile a day. Right, you can see my posts on Facebook. It's all about, they're all smiles, because I'm not being defined by this thing. This thing might have me for 4 or 5 months while I'm treated, but it doesn't define me. It doesn't define who I am or what I am, and it won't define me going forward. I plan to live every single day now like it is the day that I need to live.
The fullest. Live to the fullest. Life
Yeah,
is
for sure.
life is short. We've learned that, but all of a sudden, I know what you're saying. Last year, I was in that depression mode because not just because of the illness, but due to the insurance company and due to the fact that my numbers are going up. But you know what? I'm in a better place now. I'm in a very good place. I'm in a healing place. Not perfect. I got my depression. I'd say I'm about maybe 10, 15%. It still pops up now and then because let's face it, I have cancer right now. You have cancer, but cancer does not have me. That's how I look.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, right? It, I have cancer, but it doesn't have me. This is a fight that I'm going to fight, and then when I come out of, so unlike you, I'm on the path. I will have a stem cell transplant in 5 to 6 weeks from here, and the recovery from that, I'm told, is pretty
Yeah.
arduous. Um, but when it comes to 2023, boom, I'm off.
Yeah.
Travel. I'm going to go see different parts of the world. I'm going to make sure I nurture my relationships.
Hope you come down to Philadelphia area, New York.
Oh yeah, I'll be up there.
Awesome.
We can go to Flyers and a Pens game. Eh?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm about where I live, about a half hour from Philadelphia, about 6 hours from Pittsburgh. That's
right,
it.
Right.
Now, let me ask you. Speaking of traveling, this new apartment you bought, did you have a spare room?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to come to Sydney. That's why I got to mark that down on the map.
Yep.
Well, I have
spare
a couple.
Room for guests. Brand new apartment. It's just being finished. It's in a new complex.
You don't charge that much either. You don't charge.
Well,
it give you a deal on the rent.
Depends. If it's people that are bald and they've got cancer, we tend to check the rent up a bit.
I'm not going to have cancer then.
You
It's
get a bit
all
of a
good.
discount.
No, we got to laugh. I would love to come to Australia sometime. I do want